Good morning, class. Or good afternoon. This is your own recording just for third period honors class because we're going to talk a lot about writing today. And there are some things I'm going to skim over that I'm spending a lot more time on in my other classes, documents of the week, and something that we are going to dedicate a little bit more time to just for you guys, and that is essays, informational essays. So, because this recording is just for your class, that means I get to actually look at your seating chart and imagine what it would be like to have you guys in class, so I can just start picking on people in a nice way. But I could just be like, Jalissa, are you paying attention? Or Lauren, are you paying attention? And just kind of rifle through some of these names, and hopefully I startle you. That'll make you pay attention. So I'm on the page for your class, and this will be old information here because I'm recording this on Friday. But we're going to start off with documents of the week, and I'm just going to go over fairly quickly how to write them and not really focus on how to turn them in. But if you are confused about how to turn in the document, maybe you didn't do what for honors was the optional document of the week last week, where you just got tickets for turning that in, make sure you then go back to Thursday. So you can always go back in the stream and click on this quick turn-in guide for your document of the week, and it'll show you how to get that turned in, because from here on out, you either have an essay or a document every week. Now, most weeks it'll be a document. But during the weeks that I assign you guys informational essays, which is only once a unit, you will not have to do that particular document of the week. But for documents of the week, I'm not going to harp on them as much in honors, but again, they have to be written in honors. So we are going to spend a little bit of time on them. So let's take a peek at documents of the week. And what we're going to do is actually start off, if I could find all the right documents, maybe not. We are going to start by looking at a document I'm not having you write about. Okay. But this one is actually useful because the document you're going to be writing about is referencing this one. And normally I would have you guys read this out loud. But we're basically going to use this as a practice one. So what would I be looking for here? So this is an Abigail Adams letter excerpt to her husband, John Adams, who of course was busily working on the Declaration of Independence and later the Constitution. And they're a unique couple. John Adams is ostensibly, at least outwardly, a very unemotional person, but he actually writes these they both do, these really touching letters back and forth, and they spend a lot of time apart, and they have these really frank conversations. Now, they're hard to follow because they speak in 1700s sort of parlance, which is a little bit unique, but I want you to sort of look over documents that I give you like this and try to just pull out the main ideas, even if you don't understand basically everything in there. And I think I can highlight, sure. So if we go through here, she is writing to him while he's writing the Declaration of Independence and essentially says, where's my line? There's a line here that sort of summarizes the whole thing. Hey, remember the ladies. Remember the ladies. While you're writing, all of these thoughts about how, quote unquote, mankind or men should be equal and have all of these rights and, how unfair to be subjugated. You guys are subjugating women left and right. And I believe she says something along the lines of, all men would be tyrants if you let them. Yes, remember, all men would be tyrants if they could be. So that's an interesting line there. Do you believe that? This is where I really miss having you guys in class. Do you believe that if I could get away with it, I'm married, I've been married for over 25 years. If I could get away with it, would I just come home and say, instead of, oh, how can I help? Would I say, hey, this is what I want for dinner. This is when I want it. And when you're done, rub my feet. I'm very tired. I was on my feet all day. I mean, come on. I'm not that bad, but would secretly all of us like to be totally in charge? And in this era, men could be. It was considered sort of the way things were. And so it's an interesting letter to read through, even though, again, it's hard to read. So if you had your document of the week assigned to this document, and you don't, okay, you do not, but we would use this as a practice. How would you write it? Well, first off, you essentially, this is your source. So the first thing you do is you put your name in the upper right-hand corner, the document that you're sharing with me. So you put on, I'm just going to randomly look at the seating chart. Okay, so Ethan H. So he puts his name upper in the, on a blank document in the upper right-hand corner, Ethan H. And then he's got to list his source. If you don't list your source right under your name, that's 2 points. So he would say his source is not Unit 1, Primary Document 1. That's not the actual name of the source. His source is Abigail Adams' letter excerpt 1776 to her husband, John Adams. Now, that's pretty wordy. I can live with Abigail Adams' letter. So that's the source. Always important to list your source. Now, what does he have to include? You know what? I really should have the guide out for this. Let's get fancy. Let's pause and see if you notice. Poof. Did that magically appear? If it worked right, it did. Okay. Let me go over this with the guide. If we were writing a document of the week on that Abigail Adams letter, which you are not, and I'll attach this. I'll make sure that you have this guide as well. We don't want to look at a news story. Okay, so you are writing a document of the week on a historical document I assigned to you. Now, in the example that I have here, it's Dr. King's letters from a Birmingham jail, but the format is the same. So you'd have your name, Johnny Student, Ethan H., whatever it is, and then you're going to have as your source. Now, for this example, I had Dr. King's letters from a Birmingham jail. For you, it is Abigail Adams' letter. And then what you're doing for honors is you're writing a summary of this article in your own words. Here is the key. Do not use the direct words of the document. I've read the document. I already know what it says. I want to hear your version of it. This can be very casual. This does not have to be very formal. It's sort of what professors would call the colloquial, the just sort of casual explanation from one person to another. If you had to tell a friend about what she said, what would you say? So for you guys, this summary part, and I would literally write summary. I just think it's easier to organize it. Summary, and then I would write 5 sentences. I'm going to count the sentences. If you write 4, you're going to miss points. So just write out 5 complete sentences that just explain what the letter's about. And the letter, in this case, we're not writing about this one, but the letter is about Abigail Adams saying, hey, maybe you should consider women's rights too. And you could, just sort of expand on that. Then you're going to write a section on your opinion. Again, I would literally write out opinion. I just think it's easier. So, leave a space, write out opinion, then you're going to give me 5 sentences about your opinion. So you just explain to me, I think this is great that she was standing up for women. Too bad they didn't listen to him. Or if you want to be, I don't know, who am I going to pick on now? It seems like Samarian would be the one to pick on for this. Maybe Samarian wants to be contrarian, and he's like, this is crazy. She shouldn't have wanted equal rights. Men are better. Listen, I totally disagree with you, sir. I love how I just got in an argument with a kid who really didn't say anything. But I'm not grading you on whether or not I agree on your opinion. I'll grade you on things like, did he write in complete sentences? Did he have proper punctuation? Did he capitalize? And as long as you're not saying anything incredibly offensive, you're allowed to have an opinion that's different from mine. So, just feel free to express yourself. But that's 5 sentences. So for honors, remember, you're going to have your name, you're going to have your source, 5-sentence summary, 5-sentence opinion, and then the challenge. Is it primary or secondary, and why? That's all it is. That one's not any number of sentences. You can probably, usually it's 1 or 2 sentences. So in the case of the Abigail Adams letter, it is a primary source. So you would say this is a primary source because this was a letter written from Abigail Adams to John Adams. Secondary would be a scholar talking about that letter, reading about that letter secondhand in a textbook. You are seeing, I know it's a copy, it's not the actual words that she handwrote, but those are the actual words she said, which is why it has such weird grammar and spelling and all of that good stuff. Let's see if I can find this, if the computer will go back fast enough. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oh no. Oh, it's fighting me. Yes. Okay. So that's why, these are her exact words. Actually, it's not all of them. The actual letter is pages and pages long, but chunks of her own words. So this is primary. This came from her very own words. So that's an example of how you would write it, except you're writing yours this week on document 2. So this is your assignment for this week. This is due by the start of your class Friday. If it is not turned in by 10 a.m. on Friday, it is 0 out of 10. Okay, so you want to make sure you get this done early. There's not that much going on today compared to some other days in the week, so just do it now. And if you, again, after you write it, if you don't know how to turn it in, there's that video back in the feed. But this is a professor, teacher, Janelle Collette, talking about the Abigail Adams letter and sort of trying to put it in the place of where it belongs in women's history. So this is actually what you're writing about this week. This is your assigned document of the week. So step one is to read this. I'm not going to read this or interpret this for you. But when you are done with it, you then will put your name in the upper right-hand corner. So randomly looking again, so Amaya K. So she puts her name in the upper right-hand corner. What's her source? Her source is Janelle Collette Analysis. That's fine for me. I mean, this whole thing is the source, but she's going to make that briefer. She's going to say the source is Janelle Collette Analysis. Do not put Unit 1 Primary Document 2. That's lame. That's not something that any scholar could look at and say, what are you talking about? And then you're going to give me a 5-sentence summary on this, 5 sentences on your opinion on this, and then tell me whether or not this professor from, I believe this is 2012, is a primary or secondary source for this 1776 letter. Okay? That's your assignment this week. Now, next week, the document of the week will be a different document. That's this week's document of the week. Hopefully that is easy and straightforward. If not, you can certainly ask me during the live session that we have on Monday. Okay? Let's focus, though, a little bit more on the other thing, the whole reason I'm making this a separate video for you, I don't know why I have that one up, and that is essays. Now, the good news is you don't have an essay yet. You don't have one until Unit 2. But it is probably the thing that will make this class a little, I mean, I don't think it's hard. I think most students are probably going to end up with A's, B's, and maybe 4 or 5 C's. But I don't certainly just go, oh, they're honors, so I'm sure they'll all get A's. That's not how I'm wired. Certainly happy to give you whatever grade you earn. But we're going to challenge you a little bit because my job is to get you ready potentially for another honors class, which will be harder your junior year, or for an AP class, potentially. So we're going to have some essays. It's really the truly most honorary, I'm putting that in quotes, thing about honors class. So I'm going to give you sort of some ideas today about essays. And when I assign you your first essay, you might want to come back and listen to part of this because I'm really a stickler about some of these details because these are just good standard things. And we are very lucky to have 2 great teachers at our level. I mean, there's a lot of great teachers at a lot of levels, but 2 great sophomore English teachers. And I've gone and talked to them both and said, do you concur? And they're like, absolutely. So they're on the same page with this. So in a typical format, I am looking for generally a 5-paragraph essay. Now, I don't like to say a 5-paragraph essay because in AP, for example, we always say, listen, it could be a 4-paragraph essay, it could be an 11-paragraph essay. The whole idea is that you always have an intro, you always have body paragraphs covering each major topic, and you always have a conclusion. But what I try to do for honors, because I'm not expecting the same thing out of you that I am of a junior or senior, is that I always make it basically 3 major topics. So that's why it ends up being a 5-paragraph essay. But you're always going to do an intro, which is going to tell me what you're going to tell me. You are then going to, within that telling me what you're going to tell me, preview your conclusions, your thesis. Then for the major topics that are asked about, you're going to have 1 paragraph for each of those topics, and then you're going to have a conclusion paragraph. You're going to tell me what you told me. That is how colleges want you to write. It's how high school teachers want you to write a formal essay, an informational essay. If I give you, and I'm going to give some examples in our live sessions, but if I say, I think we'll use these. Why is Cedar Point great? And you're going to say, oh, because of the food, because of the rides, because of, I don't know, I got to make something up, the beach. You then would say your thesis is going to be 5 sentences. By the way, there's always 5 sentences in a paragraph, minimum. Something along the lines of, oh, Cedar Point is an amazing park because it has great rides, great food, and an amazing beach. Okay? Then one paragraph's going to be dedicated to rides. One paragraph's going to be dedicated to food. One paragraph's going to be dedicated to the beach. And then in the conclusion, you're going to be like I've been saying, Cedar Point's amazing. They've got a great beach. They've got great rides. You're telling me what you told me. Tell me what you're going to tell me. Look at it like this. You should always think when writing an essay that the reader of your essay is not that bright. It's an interesting concept for me since I get to read all of your essays. Really, treat me as dumb. Make sure I can't miss that point. Tell me what you're going to tell me. Then tell me. Then tell me what you told me. Make it so I can't miss it. Some of you try to get too clever. And you're like, well, didn't you understand that I kind of was sort of saying that the Cedar Point rides were great? You know what? Just say it. Just say it. Save the nuance for your graduate work, your doctoral program, okay? So 5-paragraph essays. So we are going to practice this in our live session, but I'm also going to give you some writing hints. And and these are attachments, and you can look at these anytime. And I keep going back to Chris Hemsworth, and that's not what I'm looking for. Aha, here's the first one. Okay. Some writing hints. First off, no Mickey Mouse sentences. I do not accept, allow, tolerate Mickey Mouse sentences. If you give me, and what I mean by that is like tiny little mini sentences because you're like, oh, I need 5. So I'll just go C spot run. Nope. I'll just randomly add commas in there and go, well, here's a real sentence. Now, if I put commas in here and make your 4 mini sentences one real sentence, now you only have 2 sentences minus 3 because you missed all these points for not having 5 sentences. So just avoid it. And so here's an example. There was a story. These are real examples from current events. That's another thing we use as a document of the week. So it was a Sandusky Register article. And here's an acceptable summary of something. I think it's really impressive that a high school student built his own submarine. By the way, don't build your own submarine. Sounds dangerous. I can't imagine he was able to do this for less than $2,000 and it actually worked. Those are 2 real sentences as an example. I can live with it. One of his peers used the same story and he said the guy's name. He made a sub. It was pretty cool. I'm just going to destroy those sentences. So don't even bother. You're not texting this to me, so write it out. Make sure it's, expressive. Citations. Very big deal about citations. You want to make sure you never try to pass off your work as, or someone else's work as your work. That's just critical. And how you avoid that is you cite things. If you do not cite work, you will not get credit for at least that entire paragraph. Okay? So that's 1/5 of the grade, 20% off right there. There are cases where you wouldn't get credit for it at all. So you want to be very careful and just make sure that if you looked up some information, you cited it. So if you're doing research on FDR and you found this information on biography about the biography channel or the biography website about FDR, here's what you would do. So you found out that he went to a prep school in 1896. He didn't really like it. You paraphrase it. You read it on the website, and right after you read it on the website, you just put it in your own words. No problem. You're allowed to paraphrase, and then you just cite it. I'm not even going to mark off a lot of points for citing it wrong right now. Just the effort is what I'm looking for at first. But you just put in parentheses, biography.com. You're good. You made an effort to say, and listen, I didn't come up with this out of nowhere. I got this from this website. So the other thing you can do is, you know what, I don't even want to try to paraphrase it. I just want to word it exactly how they worded it. So you put, quote, in 1896, Franklin Roosevelt attended Groton, and you just give us the exact thing. And then at the end, you put the biography.com. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You're not trying to pass off anything as not your own. We're good, okay? But don't just give me like 5 sentences that are all quotes. But here's where you can get in trouble, okay? Let's see. In 1896, okay, you directly quote from the information and cite it as paraphrase. So you said the exact same words again, but you didn't put it in quotes. you don't get credit. If you're using someone's exact words, you have a obligation to put them in quotes because they're the person saying it. But the worst one, the most common one, you write in 1896, FDR attended Groton, a prestigious religious school in Massachusetts. He didn't like it. Listen, and you don't cite it. You're cheating. I don't know what else to say. I'm not trying to catch you cheating. I expect that you, as a matter of fact, in many of the essays, I don't think I make you in Unit 2, but Unit 3 moving forward, you must use at least one outside resource. It's no big deal. Avoid the trouble and just cite it. That you're not trying to pass off anybody else's work. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into this. This is more of an AP thing. But if you ever wonder, like, well, what do I have to cite? The rule of thumb is, if the information you got could be found in 5 or 10 other places, that's considered common information. In other words, you read from the Abigail Adams letter, the revolution was in 1776. You don't have to cite that because that's considered common. Like, there's a billion sources that say that. But if you have something specific, like we're saying in here, hey, Roosevelt did not like going to this prep school. You got that from one specific site. You might be able to get it from 2 or 3, but the exact wording and the idea, you know you got it from that. Columbus, boy, you should look at my face right now. You can't. I'm making a face. Quote, unquote, discovered the New World in 1492. You may read that, but you don't have to cite 1492. Everybody knows that. Hopefully that makes sense. Refer back to this part of the video if it doesn't when we get back into writing essays in a few weeks. But I'm going to give you the benefit of one last thing. I graded the first, I used to give a Unit 1 essay, so this is 2 years old, but I graded a Unit 1 essay from honors in a year where very nice group of kids, but maybe needed some work on their writing. And I put together these things that I notice. And it's very sarcastic because basically what I'm doing is I'm making all these mistakes on purpose to illustrate my points. So I see your name on the top of the paper, so you can stop saying things like, I will tell you, I will show you, this is why I think, or the dreaded, thank you for your time at the end. Oh my gosh. Boy, do I hate those sentences because I know that some of my lazy writers, I don't know who you are yet, so I'm not even going to call out a fake name or a name from the seating chart. But, well, yeah, sure I will. I'll call on somebody that I can just pick on because I vaguely know them. Anisha. Anisha is the laziest writer in the class. We all know it. So she writes this generic, well, I told you, and as you can see, I told you this stuff, and so thank you for your time. I'm not giving credit for any of those sentences. Those aren't sentences. Those are complete garbage fillers, and I'll just cross them out and then mark off points for you not having those sentences. How cruel. Wikipedia, it's garbage. I know it was hard for you guys to see this the other day, but I mean, there have been times on Wikipedia where my former students who are bored have put into Wikipedia that I founded the Chinese Communist Party in 1909. I wasn't born yet. Another one said that I founded the AFL in like 1890. You can put anything on Wikipedia, and it just, sometimes they catch it right away, and sometimes it's on there for 48 hours, and good grief, that's why it's worthless. You can use it sometimes to get like some basic information, but don't cite it. Don't cite it. It's not an outside resource. 5 sentences per paragraph in this class. And then, see, I have some bad spelling things. And basically what I say is, I'm a bad speller. I mean, I'm a notoriously bad speller. But if I notice it, I'm going to take off points for it because, come on, people, spell check. We don't use texting in writing essays. In high school, we use complex sentences. Syria is dangerous. They are dangerous because they have weapons. That was an essay I used to assign. I switch it up so you guys are less likely to cheat. But if you do like, oh, Syria is dangerous. They're dangerous because they have weapons. I'll just put a comma there and say, oh, there's one sentence. A lot of you do not know that a lot is not one word. We have late penalties in the class. It's 20% off per day late. So if you think the essay is tough, boy, try it when the best you can get is an 80%. And I've had students turn them in 4 days late, and I just stopped grading them because, I mean, I'll grade them to a certain point, but if you're 80% off when you turn it in, as soon as you miss 20 more percent of the points, I'm not going to like, you don't owe me points, but I just stop grading because I go, oh, you've already lost all of the points. Basically, body paragraphs support the thesis with facts and data. That's one last, well, I guess it's not last. I guess it'll be my last big focus. I want you to be specific wherever you can. Another example I will give you is, let's say you're going to write an essay about why I'm the meanest teacher at Sandusky High School. And you've got to come up with these paragraphs about why I'm so mean. And you say, oh, he physically abuses his students, he calls them mean names, and he laughs when he gives them bad grades, or something like that. So those are your 3 paragraphs. You then give specific examples. You don't just say, for the paragraph, Mr. Penrose physically abuses us. You don't just say, yep, he's really mean, and he's done some mean things to us. You get into specifics. Aaron says, before I even knew him, one time he saw me in the hallway and just knocked my books down. Okay, that's a great example. That's a specific example of why I'm a horrible person. If you get into, he says mean things. Haley writes, instead of just saying, oh, he says mean things, you say, oh, he made fun of me for being so tall that I hit myself on my crooked ceiling that I use in my Zoom calls. So that's specific. Give specific data. If we're writing about Cedar Point, you don't say, wow, they have a lot of cool rides. You say they have 18 roller coasters. You get into details. You have specifics. I hope this makes sense. You can read through these on your own at your own pace. I just hope you take these to heart because I really do want you to get good grades on your writing. So tomorrow we're going to get back into grading a little bit of writing. I think I told you Friday we'd get back into it Monday. I forgot that we had to do this. We are going to actually take real notes this week, finally. You guys are going to find this first unit so easy because it's just a lot of review stuff, and it's a mini unit as it is. But I just want to make sure everybody has that information to start off with. So hope this made sense to you. Reach out if you have any questions. Sorry we went a little long. Get that document of the week done, though. Remember, you're supposed to have about 45 minutes in class each day. I don't think that document is going to take you much more than 20 minutes. So you could be done in the same time you'd have, sort of tied up in this class if we were live. So if we were in real person. So have a great day and talk to you probably another time today if you watch this in time. See ya.